Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. In the vast, uncharted corners of the galaxy, there existed a species so ancient and so wise that their civilization had transcended the need for most material wealth and even most forms of conflict. They were called the Vorin, a race of beings whose primary existence had long been one of deep contemplation, intellectual pursuits, and exploration of the cosmos. Their great cities, nestled in the sky or perched on towering cliffs of alien planets, shimmered with the beauty of millennia of progress. The Vorin had mastered technologies far beyond human comprehension. Their energy sources were limitless, their medical breakthroughs could regenerate even the most grievously damaged bodies, and their philosophy was one of ultimate peace. They had long since settled into a state of equilibrium, where the pursuit of survival and the struggle for dominance were no longer concerns. Yet, in their intellectual isolation, something had begun to stir in the deepest recesses of their society. In all their exploration of the stars, the Vorin had encountered countless species, some of which were more advanced than humanity, others less so. Yet, there was something unique about the humans they had observed from afar, something that both perplexed and fascinated the Vorin to no end. The humans, young and relatively primitive in comparison to the Vorin, had something the ancient species found both compelling and mystifying: an extraordinary willingness to take risks, to step into the unknown, and to sacrifice their lives for ideals or discoveries that, to the Vorin, seemed trivial in comparison to their own long-held pursuits. The Vorin had watched as humans, with their inherently fragile biology and seemingly short lifespans, sent themselves to distant, dangerous worlds. They had seen humans plunge into the depths of space, into places where no other species dared venture. They had observed them explore toxic atmospheres, traverse hostile planets, and go into battle with beings much larger and more formidable than themselves. Humans, in their reckless courage, had drawn the admiration of the Vorin, who had come to see something in them that they could not find in themselves, a kind of bravery that went beyond any practical purpose or tangible goal. For the Vorin, it was an enigma, and it was one that sparked a great deal of philosophical contemplation. One of the Vorin's most revered philosophers, Hrotal, began to speak of humans in glowing terms. His thoughts, often quoted across Vorin society, went something like this: they leap into the void without fear, not because they know it will be safe, but because they believe in the value of the leap itself. They search the stars, not for riches or to conquer others, but to expand their own limits, to better themselves. They would risk their lives without hesitation for a glimpse of the unknown, and it is this willingness that makes them something to be revered. But the Vorin were not content with mere admiration. They were a species driven by understanding, and their fascination with humans went deeper than simple curiosity. Over the course of several centuries, the Vorin began to carefully observe humanity from within, using their advanced technology to interact with humans on a subtle level, studying the psyche and motivations that drove them. What they discovered was profound. Humans did not act out of a cold desire for fame, fortune, or technological advancement alone. At the heart of their willingness to risk everything, often with no guarantee of success, was a unique blend of idealism, a thirst for knowledge, and an unyielding drive for self-improvement. This willingness to face death for the sake of the unknown became a cornerstone of the Vorin understanding of human nature. They began to see that the act of risking one's life was not just an individual decision for humans. It was part of a collective ethos, a societal push that celebrated bravery, sacrifice, and the quest to push past limitations. Unlike the Vorin, whose lives had become highly regulated and constrained by centuries of peace, humans thrived on chaos, uncertainty, and, most importantly, the courage to face danger in the name of progress. At first, the Vorin struggled to grasp this. They had never known such reckless abandon in the pursuit of knowledge or survival. Their own civilization, having lived for so long in peace, had come to prioritize preservation above all else. They had conquered the challenges of their environment long ago and had removed all danger from their lives. In contrast, humanity reveled in taking risks, seeing it as a pathway to growth, enlightenment, and the evolution of both the mind and the spirit. To the Vorin, this seemed incomprehensible and yet deeply admirable. They were captivated by it. Over time, the Vorin came to understand that for humans, risk was not an absence of fear, but a response to it. The human drive to explore was, in its purest form, an embrace of uncertainty. The more the Vorin observed, the more they realized that humanity had found meaning not in avoiding death or disaster, but in confronting it head-on. They found that, paradoxically, it was this very willingness to risk their lives that allowed humans to create, to innovate, and to transcend the limits of what was thought possible. The human concept of heroism began to take on a sacred significance in Vorin philosophy. Heroes, in the Vorin view, were not just those who accomplished great feats. They were the ones who were willing to place themselves in harm's way for the greater good, for a cause beyond themselves. And this, they concluded, was something that the Vorin had lost over time. They had outgrown heroism in favor of safety, security, and stagnation. But now, seeing it in its purest form in the humans, the Vorin were reminded of something crucial. The fire that drove the most profound and transformative actions in any civilization was the willingness to step into the unknown and face the dangers that lay in wait. As the Vorin's philosophical reflections grew deeper, they began to make plans. They would invite humanity to their world, to meet with them face to face, to learn directly from the people who had so captivated their imagination. What began as a curiosity about humans' willingness to risk everything soon transformed into something far more powerful. The Vorin began to worship this aspect of human nature. Not in a traditional religious sense, but as a reverence for the willingness to face mortality in pursuit of something greater. They admired humans not for their technological advancements alone, but for the deeper, intangible qualities that made them so unique in the galaxy. In time, a delegation of Vorin arrived on Earth, their ships gliding silently through the atmosphere, a rare event in human history. The humans who met them were awestruck by the grace and elegance of the Vorin, whose forms shimmered with an ethereal quality. The delegation was led by a wise elder, who spoke to the humans in their language, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of thought and reflection. "We have watched you for millennia," Elter began, his voice carrying a sense of reverence. "We have seen your kind travel to the farthest reaches of space, traverse hostile planets, dive into deadly situations, all without hesitation. We have come to understand that there is a strength in you, a strength that transcends your fragile biology, a strength that drives you to face death with courage, to risk everything for the sake of knowledge, progress, and each other." The humans who stood before Elter were silent, taken aback by the Vorin's words. They had always known themselves to be a species driven by curiosity, ambition, and a thirst for discovery. But hearing it from another civilization, especially one so ancient and advanced, filled them with a sense of awe. Elter continued, "We have long since mastered the art of preservation, the art of living without risk, without danger. But we have lost something in the process, the fire of life that burns brightest when we are on the edge, when we face the unknown with open hearts. You, humans, have preserved that fire. You have kept it alive, and it is something to be revered. You inspire us, teach us, and remind us of the value of risk, not for glory, but for the simple act of becoming more than we were." At first, the humans were stunned. They had never imagined that an ancient and powerful race like the Vorin would hold them in such high regard, let alone worship their willingness to risk their lives. But as the days went on, as they spoke with the Vorin and shared stories of their explorations, their sacrifices, and their triumphs, the humans began to understand the depth of the admiration the Vorin felt for them. The Vorin had lost their own sense of adventure, their own willingness to step into the unknown, and they now sought to recapture that spark through humanity. In the following years, a unique relationship blossomed between the Vorin and humanity. The Vorin learned to embrace risk once again, inspired by the bravery of the humans. They began to send their own expeditions to distant, dangerous corners of the galaxy, learning to confront their own fears and uncertainties. The Vorin did not merely want to emulate the humans, they wanted to learn from them, to worship the very idea of risking everything for a cause greater than oneself. The humans, for their part, were humbled by the reverence the Vorin showed them. They did not see themselves as heroes or saints, but as beings who had simply refused to accept the limits of their own existence. In the end, what the Vorin had learned from humanity was not just a new way of exploring the universe. They had rediscovered a vital piece of what it meant to be truly alive: the willingness to step into the unknown, to face danger with courage, and to risk everything in the pursuit of something greater. And so, the relationship between the Vorin and humanity grew, not as one of superiority or power, but of mutual respect. The Vorin worshipped the humans not for their technology, not for their conquests, but for their willingness to risk it all, a quality that had kept their spirit of adventure alive in a way that no other species had managed. Through this, both civilizations grew in ways they could never have imagined before, learning from each other and, in doing so, changing the course of history across the stars.